who is going to talk to us about something that's very, very interesting and far from the point of mind. When you think of Saudi Arabia, you don't necessarily think of birds, but actually it is a very interesting birding spot. And so I'm looking forward to Greg's discussion on this particular topic. Greg originally came from the Northeast and has been living and working in the Middle East since 2010, so he knows from whence he comes. While essentially a rootless expat, he and his family do have a foothold back in Fort Worth, Texas, which is where he's presenting from now. He's taking his precious vacation time to come and talk to us about Saudi Arabia birds. So I think it's important to know that he's this passionate about this kind of subject that he'll take his vacation time to share this with us. He's been interested in birds and bird watching for nearly 30 years and avidly so since 2005. And besides birding, Greg loves learning foreign languages and has been teaching himself Arabic since he arrived in the Middle East. He's currently working as an English instructor at Aramco's Industrial Training Center, and I hope I don't butcher this too bad, Al Asa, where he lives with his wife, Michelle, who is a visual artist. So join me in welcoming Greg Askew, and I'm going to stop my share and turn it over to you, Greg, and you can start your share.
All right, thank you very much, Britt. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. My name is Gregory Askew. As Britt mentioned, I've been working in Saudi Arabia for a time with my wife. I work as an English language instructor with Saudi Aramco, and I've been there since November 2017. Since that time, I've had the opportunity to bird much of the country and see a lot of wonderful birds. So I'm really honored to be here with you this evening with the Bexar Audubon community and to give a talk about the thrill of exploring what is one of the most underbirded countries in the world. So are you hearing me okay?
Yes, you're coming in just fine.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brett. So today's talk is going to center around four main topics. Right, to start, what makes Saudi Arabia an exciting country to bird? Second, we're going to talk about the kingdom's endemic and near endemic species, what really makes the country special, to be honest. And third, I'll talk a bit about the best places for birding in the country and when to visit. Right, so depending on the nature of your visit, these hotspots could be really helpful for you. And lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about why I personally love Saudi birding. So I'll finish off with that. Before I jump into the meat of my presentation, though, I thought it would be interesting to get an idea of what comes to mind for the audience when you think of Saudi Arabia. So go ahead and scan the QR code that you see on my screen, and you'll see a prompt there asking you to enter 3 words. So what 3 words come to mind when you think of Saudi Arabia? So I'll give you a little time to go ahead and scan that QR code and think of those 3 words and submit. And then when you're done, we'll take a look at what kind of word cloud comes together and just have a brief discussion. I'll address whatever pops up as some of the more prominent ideas or you know, words that pop up that come to mind for Saudi Arabia. Oh, it looks like I got to log in here. My very secret password, uh-oh. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so just going to give folks, let me show that QR code again as well. Give folks just a minute or so more. And then what we'll have is a word cloud of, you know, all the ideas that come to mind when you think of Saudi Arabia. And just a note, any profanity will be filtered out, so.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, all you have to do is take your smartphone and put it in camera mode and hold it up to the QR code, just like getting a menu at a restaurant these days. There will be a link there, and then you can enter in those words.
Yeah, thanks for that, Britt. There's also, you'll see a web address here, www.menti.com, and then there's a code as well. So if that's easier for you, or if you're having issues with your camera. All right, so just one more minute for folks, and then we'll see what you've submitted. Okay, interesting, interesting. Uh-oh, somebody broke the #1 rule, only one word. One word for each, but that's okay. All right, so I think we can jump into it, and it's kind of what I've expected, because it's a lot of it's pretty much what I expected when I first decided to move abroad to the Middle East to work. That the Arabian Peninsula was mostly just dry, barren desert. Just vast expanses of sand as far as the eye can see. But what I came to find is that particularly in Saudi Arabia, that the landscape is much more diverse than what I expected. I see that response there, bee eaters, exactly. Saudi is great for bee eaters, for sure. So where I live in the Eastern province, it's it is about the oil out there. It is kind of barren. It's quite dry, quite hot, especially right now. It's we were breaking 120 degrees by day for a while there before we came back to Texas, right? But that's not all of Saudi Arabia. It's a very diverse place when it comes to habitats, much more diverse than you might have expected, right? So I'm gonna share with you just some short videos of my most favorite place to bird in the country, right? This is a place called Tanoma. It's a small town. Oh, with the sharing, I forgot to share my audio though. So maybe you guys are not hearing the audio from the video. But these are woodlands just outside a small town called Tanoma. And the trees that you see here are mostly African junipers and acacia trees. And they are favored by all the really unique species that we can find in these in what are Saudi's highlands. So this town is actually at 2,000 to 2,200 meters. So I think that's about 7,500 feet roundabout. And these are one of my favorite woods to go birding in Tanoma. And did you expect that there'd be woods like these in Saudi Arabia, right? With vegetation crunching underfoot and birds singing around. And this area is situated at the, oh, my connection is now unstable. Okay, can you hear me now? It's okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So this area is situated on a large escarpment. So up on top of the escarpment, right, the weather is beautiful. And then there's just some stunning vistas stunning views that you can have at the edge of this escarpment, looking west towards the Red Sea. So it's quite a beautiful place and very popular with Saudis as well for summer tourism. And but ultimately what makes Saudi Arabia such an interesting place to bird is the rich avian diversity that comes with, right, these diverse habitats. But what ultimately makes the country so bird rich? Well, it's because Saudi Arabia is situated at the meeting point of three biogeographical realms or ecozones. So this map here shows us the main ecozones around the world. And here's Saudi Arabia here in this inset square. And I'm just going to pop this out for you so we can look a little closer. So here's Saudi Arabia, right? Positioned between the Red Sea here to the west, the Persian Gulf to the east. We have the Indian Ocean south of the Arabian Peninsula. Some of the other countries on the Arabian Peninsula are the UAE here to the east, as well as Oman in the southeast corner here, and then to the south, Yemen, right? And to the north, right, not considered part of the Arabian Peninsula, but we have Iraq and we have Jordan, and then Egypt to the west. Now, as I said, it's situated between three of these major biogeographical realms. So we have the Palearctic to the north, right? So roughly the northern third of the country is included in what's called the Western Palearctic, with a range of Palearctic residents, right? So these are Eurasian birds that are resident to northern Saudi Arabia, and there's some regional specialties up in this part of the country, including 10 resident lark species. So 10 species of larks, right? These are sort of the iconic birds of the desert in Saudi Arabia, including Temminck's lark, which is like our horned lark, thick-billed larks, and the Arabian Dunn's lark, right? So these are three of the most iconic lark species that we can find out in the Saudi desert, but particularly in the north. So wintertime, I look for them in my area, further south into the east, but the best place to find them is there to the north. And Saudi also hosts approximately 500 million migratory birds from the Palearctic, right? So from this realm, on their annual passage to Africa or wintering grounds elsewhere on the Arabian Peninsula. Now, in the West, right, the bird life becomes increasingly dominated by Afrotropical species. Okay, and the further south you go, the more of these Afrotropical species that you can find. The extreme southwest corner of the country, right, which is right about there, which is called Jazan province, contains the highest number of species that range across Africa and only just extend into Arabia in this region, west and south Yemen, and the Far region in Oman. So this is southern Oman. So we get some of these Afrotropical species in this part of Oman as well. Now, some of these species are resident year-round, such as the white-browed cuckoo and African gray hornbill, whereas others only visit the kingdom as summer breeders, such as Bruce's green pigeon, gray-headed kingfisher, and African paradise flycatcher. Now, apologies, we will be looking at some pictures. I do have pictures of some of these birds for you guys. So just stay tuned for that. Now, here in the east of the country where I live, right, the place is called Al-Hassa. Saudi bird life is enriched with species from the Indo-Malayan realm. So the ranges of predominantly species, like gray francolin, gray-headed swamp hen, red-wattled lapwing, and Indian roller extend into Arabia here, with greater diversity and density in the UAE because of the proximity here, just across from the Strait of Hormuz, right? We get more of these Indo-Malayan species here. but many of them, several of them occur in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia as well. The number of Indo-Malayan species can increase in the winter with the arrival of uncommon winter residents, such as oriental honey buzzards, black-eared kite, as well as odd vagrant. Okay, well, geez, yeah, apologies to the audience. So let me see, where was I? So talking about the flyways that pass through Saudi Arabia annually. So we've got the Red Sea coast here. This is the Black Sea Mediterranean flyway, and down up and down the Red Sea coast, we get some amazing passage of raptors, cranes, and passerines, and including at the right time of year, right, huge flocks of demoiselle cranes, which can be seen passing over Jeddah in the spring and fall. I've seen reports in eBird. I'm the eBird reviewer for Saudi Arabia, and I've seen reports for well over 200 in a single flock. So really, and they're stunning birds, the demoiselle cranes. Then we have the Asian East African flyway, which passes through the northeast to the southwest of the country. And Saudi Arabia represents a major stopover for shorebirds using this flyway annually, as well as wheaters and pipits and different shrike species. And some of these species, in fact, overwinter in the kingdom as well. So for many of them, for example, the northern wheatear, Saudi Arabia is just a stop along the way. But then for other passerines, right, they're finding more favorable habitat in the kingdom and deciding to overwinter. And lastly, we have the Central Asian flyway here. And this flyway brings an array of interesting winter residents from the steppeland of countries like Kazakhstan to the northeast, including three significantly endangered species: the sociable lapwing, the steppe eagle, and the Hubara bustard. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the Hubara bustard, but please Google it. It's a really incredible bird. I've yet to see one in Saudi myself. It's a popular quarry among the Saudi falconers, and so for that reason, they're quite rare these days. Now, to date, right, because of it's the way the country is situated, to date there are over 500 different species have been recorded in Saudi Arabia, right, with new species being added. So just in the past 2 years, we added 4 new records for the country. Amur falcon, which is an Asian falcon that passes through Arabia on its way to Africa. So it breeds in East Asia and it winters in East Africa, East and South Africa. And usually those falcons give Saudi Arabia a pass, but back in just last year, 2020, we had our first. Also, pale sand martin, which is the birds that you can see here. Right? This is a Central Asian species that normally winters in India, but this winter 2020, we had our first record. Syrian Sarin, which is a regional endemic in the Shami Levantine area of Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, where they number maybe, it's estimated around 4,000 individuals. So we had our first record of these in Saudi Arabia last year, which was really exciting. And then the most exciting record recently is the white-throated swallow. This is an African species that, from what I heard, hadn't ever been recorded north of Tanzania. So this is a first record for the Northern Hemisphere, I believe, that was found in northern Saudi Arabia just recently. So lots of great birds pass through, are resident in the country, and many other great birds are still being discovered. Now, what will surely be the biggest draw for international birders are the nearly 24 endemic or near endemic species, including the Asir magpie, right, which is a critically endangered corvid found only in Saudi Arabia. And also there's the Arabian dunslark, approximately 90% of whose global population occurs in the kingdom, right? So here's our Asir magpie. And in the name, right, tells you where we can find them. They're found in the Asir region of Southwest Saudi Arabia. And then our dunslark is this little brown bird here. And this was a bit of a bogey bird for me for a while there. It took me 3 years to find one out in the deserts. But last year proved magic, and I had 2 encounters with them. They're quite difficult to find. It's a bit of a desert enigma in a way. Now, there are 13 other species that are endemic to the Arabian Peninsula, but are easier to see in Saudi than any of the other countries in the region, with the exception of the golden winged grosbeak. So this is the golden winged grosbeak here. This one is much easier to see in Oman, right? But all of the other endemic species to the Arabian Peninsula are quite easy to see in Saudi Arabia. So these birds are the Philby's partridge, which can be found in Southwest Saudi as well as Western Yemen. The Arabian partridge, which can be found in Saudi, Yemen, as well as Southern Oman. Really striking bird. We have an endemic owl. So this is the Arabian Scops owl, which also can be found in Saudi, Yemen, and Southern Oman. Then, of course, we've got our endemic woodpecker, which is quite amazing. It's a really fun bird. So the Arabian woodpecker, this can only be seen in Saudi and West Yemen. We've got, so some of these other birds are near endemics, which means that a bit of their population extends, outside of the Arabian Peninsula. So we say they're, near endemics. They're almost endemic to the region. We've got the Yemen warbler, which is a beautiful, a fun kind of skulky little warbler, but with whitish blue eyes. Really fun birds. We have the Yemen thrush, right, which is quite common in the southwest of Saudi, Western Yemen, but only in the highlands. So the majority of these birds are found at elevations probably ranging from 1,000 meters to about 3,000 meters in the highlands of Saudi Arabia. Right. We also have the Arabian wheat and Southern Oman. We've got the Arabian sunbird. So we have purple sunbirds in the UAE, and maybe we'll find some soon in Saudi as vagrants. But in the west of Arabia, we have 3 different sunbird species: the endemic Arabian sunbird, but then we also have the Palestine sunbird and the Nile Valley sunbird. But this is the only one that's endemic to the Arabian Peninsula. We have the Arabian waxbill, these are really fun birds, really beautiful. I love their kind of ruby masks that the male, both the male and female have. We have the Arabian Seren. So it's a fairly drab bird. There's a slight greenish yellow rump on it. So it gives it its other name, the olive rump Seren, but incredibly beautiful songs. So when you go to the Southwest Highlands, so this could be from, the mountains just east of Jeddah, south to the border with Yemen. And you'll hear, when you hear them, you'll hear their songs, and quite beautiful. They're go to farm areas, villages, and they're quite common, and you can hear their song everywhere. And we have the Yemen Seren as well, which is another one that also occurs in Oman. So Saudi, Yemen, and Oman. And the Arabian golden-winged grosbeak. This one is quite difficult to find in Saudi Arabia. It hasn't been seen, I think, in the past 5-6 years. Not for a lack of trying. Several of us have gone looking for them, but have not found them. And the last one, another charmer, is the Yemen linnet. So this is similar to the Eurasian linnet, except it's got this nice white wing patch that flashes as they fly. They're quite attractive. So these birds are only found on the Arabian Peninsula, and Saudi Arabia is really the best place to see the majority of them. Now, the reason that the best place to see them is in the Southwest is this is a bit of an endemism hotspot, and it's the most biodiverse terrestrial habitat in the country, the highlands of the Southwest. Now, for some of the near endemics, Saudi Arabia represents the easiest place to see these and other regional specialties. So, such as the rufous-capped lark. Right, this is a bird that can also be found in West Yemen and the Somaliland, this small area in the Somaliland. But these are two significantly less tourist-friendly countries than Saudi Arabia at the moment. So really the best place to see this bird is in the highlands of the Southwest. They're really, really nice looking birds. And then of course we also have the Hypocoleus, and this is a regional specialty, mostly in the east. It can be seen throughout the country in the winter, but these birds breed in Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan, and occur on the Arabian Peninsula in the winter. So those are three countries that are also quite difficult for Americans to get into at the moment. So really, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, these are great countries to go to in the winter to encounter these birds. They're quite remarkable. I believe they're considered, they're related to silky flycatchers like the Phainopepla and I think that's the way you pronounce it, the Phainopepla. Okay. And there are even two regionally endemic seabird species that can be seen in Saudi Arabia. We have the white-eyed gull, right, which can be seen in the Red Sea. These are really, really striking gulls. I mean, the bright yellow legs, bright red beaks that they have during the breeding season are just incredibly smart-looking birds. And we have the Socotra cormorant in the Persian Gulf, which I'll show you now. So what I'd like to do now is talk about some of the best regions for birding in Saudi Arabia. So generally speaking, the birding's the best in the Northwest, Central region, and the Eastern region during the winter months, right, when the temperatures out in the desert are much more forgiving. However, for the best chance of seeing all of the Arabian endemics and near endemics in the Southwest, the best time to visit is mid to late summer. So in these highlands, mid to late summer is the best time to go and see a lot of those endemic species that I was just talking about. So this is when the monsoon brings cooling rains to the highlands, and the hotter weather in the lowlands winds up driving a lot of birds to the higher elevations. So when you get up above 2,000 meters, right, the concentration of birds during the summer is much greater than you would find anywhere else in the country. So temperatures in the lowlands and out in the desert, during the summer, as I said before, could be 115, 120 degrees, maybe more. And then in the highlands, right, with the monsoon rains coming in, the temperature rarely exceeds 90 degrees. And so I just want to take a moment and look at some of the specialties that you can see in different regions of the country. So here in the east, where we live, right, as I mentioned before, there's some Indo-Malayan species that occur. So for example, we've got the gray-headed swamp hen. These are quite common in the wetlands. These are all man-made wetlands, by the way. but they've been around for decades, and they host a lot of really cool species like this swamp hen, which are quite striking. We also have the Socotra cormorants in the Persian Gulf. This seabird can only be seen in the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea, out in the Indian Ocean. It doesn't occur in the Red Sea, or only rarely. Out in the desert, pharaoh eagle owls are quite common. This is a really, really striking owl that you can see in areas where, maybe there's rock piles or quarries, or some of the sandstone mountains out in the desert. You can find them there. Also at this around the sandstone deserts, we have the desert lark. So in the east, there are some places where you can get some really nice desert birds, and quite close to where I live, and some of the oil and gas sites as well. There are places where you can see some nice desert birds. The hypocoleus, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the regional specialties that occurs in Saudi during the winter. Really, really nice looking birds. Right? This is the female here. Sociable lapwing. So in some of the pivot fields, the grass agriculture out in the eastern province attracts the small wintering population of these sociable lapwings. And this is a bird that breeds in the steppelands of countries like Kazakhstan, and generally pass through Saudi on their way to East Africa. And their numbers have been dropping. Conservationists are very concerned about their status. And this small wintering population was discovered in the eastern province not too long ago. So this is a really nice bird to encounter during the winter. But we're also we try to be quite careful with revealing the exact location of where these birds are, just to ensure that they're safe. There's a lot of hunting, a lot of unregulated hunting in Saudi Arabia. So we'd hate to see hunters start going after these. We have the mustache warbler. So there's a few spots in the eastern province where this really, really nice warbler can be seen. Black scrub robin. These are really fun. They're quite common in the west, but where I live in Al-Hassa, it's probably the best place in the east to see these birds. Really, really nice looking birds. And lastly, here we have the Egyptian nightjar. So there's a few spots near me where that are quite reliable for this nightjar. If you were to fly into the capital of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, right, you have a lot of really great desert birding as well as wetland birding on offer. So birds like the steppe eagle, desert finch, the Arabian duck, the bar-tailed lark, and trumpeter finch, right? All of these can be encountered out in the deserts pretty much all year round. Okay. But then there's a wastewater river running south of Riyadh, and it's created some really, really nice habitat. It's treated wastewater, and the habitat that's created is it looks quite natural. It's really quite beautiful, and it's attracted a lot of really interesting species, including white-throated kingfisher, as well as this bird, the Bexar reed warbler. Now, this is a reed warbler that breeds in the marshes of Mesopotamia, so the Tigris and Euphrates River, and winters in East Africa. But during the 1990s, the Saddam Hussein's regime was desiccating these marshes, and there was great concern about their numbers. They dropped by something 70 or 80% around that time. But since then, they've been coming back, and annually they pass through Saudi Arabia on their way to and from East Africa. And there were a couple of years where it looked like they might even breed along this river in Riyadh. So really, really interesting bird. And and this place just south of Riyadh is a great place to try to find them in the early summer. Up here in the northwest, right, this is the stomping grounds of a really wonderful bird photographer named Nader Fahed. And these are all his pictures as well. This is actually one area in Saudi Arabia I've yet to visit. But some of the specialties here are the thick-billed lark, which is a really remarkable looking bird. The CC partridge, right? So this is Nader was the first person to discover these in Saudi Arabia, and there's a small population here just outside his town. We're getting black-shouldered kites. So there more and more of these birds are breeding in Saudi Arabia on account of the abundance of farmland. We get a lot of very interesting Mediterranean warblers that show up in the wintertime in the northwest of the kingdom. There's little owls can be encountered pretty much throughout the kingdom, but Nader's found several near him and gotten these wonderful photographs. Common wood pigeons will show up in the winter. This is, I think, the only area in Saudi where this occurs. Here we have the Temminck's lark, which is like our horned lark, but much more of a desert bird. The cream-colored courser. This is a really remarkable shorebird that lives in barren desert. Really, really striking colors and pattern. Or the head pattern on this is really astounding. And then we have a lesser short-toed lark here as well. So the Northwest, as I said earlier, is really fantastic for desert birds, particularly lark species. And also in the Northwest is Tabuk province, which is a really phenomenal place. This is a place I have visited, as you can tell by my photographs, which are not nearly as good as Nader's. So the Syrian Seren, this is something that can occur in the winter, and Tabuk province would be the best place to search for it. We also have the Tristram starling, which is a really incredible long-tailed starling with these sort of orange creamsicle wings. So these blackbirds, when they fly, you'll see these bright orange flashes in their wings. It's really quite something. Chukar, this is the only area in Saudi Arabia where chukar can be found. There's a rosefinch endemic to the region called the Sinai rosefinch, which is seen on the Sinai Peninsula, as well as Tabuk province and southern Israel as well. There's hooded wheat ears and Kurdish wheat ears. So there's a lot of resident wheat ears, and there's a lot of wintering wheat ears in Saudi Arabia. So it's a really well represented family in the country. So hooded is one that is resident, and Kurdish is one that shows up in the wintertime. This region was the first place that I saw the desert owl, which is this really incredible bird. This is not my photograph. This is a photograph from another bird photographer, another Saudi by the name of Mansour Fahed. And we've got the Arabian Seren. They're actually occurring much further north now, and so you can see this endemic species there in Tabuk. And we have an interesting redstart, a black redstart that occurs in the west of the country. This is the western black redstart. This is a female that I encountered, but really, really nice birds. We've got the western black redstart in the west of the country, and the eastern black redstart in the east of the country. Really, really nice birds that show up in the winter. But the best birding in Saudi Arabia, if you ask anyone, is in the southwest. And so once we start getting down towards Jeddah, that's when we start encountering many more of the endemic species. So again, the Arabian, so this is the Mecca region. So Jeddah and the city of Taif, as well as the holy city of Mecca. So we get the Arabian wheat ear, the Arabian warbler, which is kind of a near endemic to the region, even though it has Arabian in its name. It also occurs in Israel and Jordan. We have the red-breasted or buff-breasted wheat ear, the Arabian partridge again. This is the only place that golden-winged grosbeak has been seen. This wonderful photograph is from Mansour Fahed. The Arabian sunbird can be seen in this region. We have cinnamon-breasted bunting, which is one of the African species. This bird ranges through Africa and up into Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and southern Oman. The cinnamon-breasted bunting. The Arabian woodpecker. This is a region. This is an area where you can start seeing these woodpeckers up in the highland forests. They like the junipers. They like the acacias. So you start seeing them around Taif. To the east of Jeddah. And the same with the Arabian waxbill as well. So this waxbill, you start to see it around the farms up in the highlands to the east. Okay, but then we get to the Asir region. So the Asir region, this is really the prime birding hotspot in Saudi Arabia. And it's here where, of course, we see the Asir magpie. It's very range restricted. So, you know, if you want to see it, there's some real select towns to visit where, you know, the woodlands around the towns are quite good for these magpies. We have the Yemen Seren. They're much more common there. The rufous-capped lark is much more common in the highlands in this region. The Arabian scops owl is quite easy to see here. Philby's partridge as well. You can see them from further north in Taif, but I found this area, particularly the town of Tanoma, to be the best place to find them. I've seen quite a few Yemen warbler there. So again, that nice whitish blue eye, very striking birds. The Yemen thrush, right? These can be seen pretty much from Taif south through the Asir, but the Asir is the best place to see them. They're quite abundant here. Again, the Yemen linnets, these are high elevation birds. So in the Asir region, the highest elevation is 3,000 meters, 9,000 feet, right? And this is in that range of 2,500 meters to 3,000 meters is really the best for these birds. This is also a good area for an endemic subspecies of the spotted eagle owl. So this is the Arabian spotted eagle owl, a subspecies that's endemic to the Arabian Peninsula. So this is another good one that you can see up in the highlands. And the last hotspot I'll talk about, this is the one I visited for the second time most recently, and this is the Jazan region. And here is where you find an abundance of Afrotropical species, like the red-eyed dove. Right? This is a common African dove, ranges throughout sub-Saharan Africa and the Horn of Africa. And then there's a population, what I suspect is a subspecies, in fact, but it hasn't been described as such, that occurs in West Yemen and Southwest Saudi, just in this region, the Jazan region. There's the Arabian golden sparrow. Unfortunately, I don't have an image of the male golden sparrow in full color, but they're really incredible looking bird. So this is a really striking quail that only lives in the Jazan province and western Yemen. And then, but has a much larger, more extensive range through Africa. We've got the African gray hornbill, really fun birds, really striking, quite common throughout the year, but only in the lowlands around the Asir region and the Jazan region. We have Abdeen's stork, which is a really interesting African stork that occurs in Southwest Saudi, West Yemen, South Yemen, and southern Oman. In Saudi, they're year-round. In southern Oman, they show up in the wintertime. Jazan is the only population of lesser flamingo. So there's a large flock of them that occur south of the city in a mangrove marsh. Really lovely birds. And Jazan's the only place in Saudi to see them at the moment. But quite common birds in Africa, of course. But Southwest Saudi, West Yemen, the only places where they're pretty reliable on the Arabian Peninsula. This eagle is phenomenal. It's the Verreaux's eagle, or they also call it the black eagle in Africa. These occur in the highlands, the kind of the foothills of the mountains in the west. But really striking birds. I saw them in the southwest of Saudi and also southern Oman. Really incredible birds. I definitely recommend Googling them and finding better pictures than this one. There's a population of helmeted guinea fowl as well that occur in the southwest that some have suggested might be distinct subspecies of the guinea fowls in Africa. And lastly here, Abyssinian roller. So this is a unique roller species that occurs only in the southwest of Saudi and in West Yemen. So we in fact get 3 different roller species, and and just to go back to this image here, right? We have the European roller, which is a Palearctic species that migrates through Saudi Arabia every year. We get the Abyssinian roller, which is an Afrotropical species, which occurs in the southwest. And we have the Indian roller in the east, which is an Indo-Malayan species that it's still fairly uncommon in Saudi Arabia, but it's quite common in the UAE and northern Oman. So just to show you, the influence of these 3 biogeographical realms, in just one family of birds. Right? So we have 3 rollers that occur in Saudi Arabia. So these are the prime birding hotspots in the country. And, whenever I can, though, to be honest, I try to spend as much time as I can in the Southwest. It's just really stunning there. And there's lots of really wonderful birds. Now, to close, I wanted to spend a moment just to talk about why I've come to love Saudi birding so much. Now, first off, as you can see, right, Saudi birds are really cool, especially with so many striking and iconic species occurring on the Arabian Peninsula. The second reason is Saudi is one of the most underbirded countries on the planet. To compare, right, take a look at this graph that I created, comparing completed eBird checklists from Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, UAE, and Bexar County. So as of July 4th, 2021, in Saudi, we had only 4,115 completed checklists in eBird compared to Bexar County's 81,000, right? And we have only, as of July 4th, 254 eBirders compared to Bexar County's 6,164 eBirders. So and really, eBird has only taken off in the past few years since I've become the eBird reviewer for the country. I've really been pushing it hard with a lot of the bird photographers and other people I encounter, just to try to get a little bit more of the data from the country in eBird. Because to date, it's kind of spread out. There's a lot of folks with private records who thankfully are now going to eBird and entering those private records, some of which go back maybe 30, 40 years as well. So it's quite interesting what some folks have been sitting on for a long time, and now eBird gives them this opportunity to share it. The third reason I really love Saudi birding is because it's so underbirded. I've been able to contribute to knowledge of Saudi's bird life, particularly the occurrence and distribution of certain species, as well as by obtaining some of the first audio recordings of many of the endemic, near endemic species, including the Asir magpie. So a lot of my, all of my audio recordings are in Xeno-Canto and eBird as well. And as you can see, I've been quite active the past 2 years, collecting as many audio recordings as I can. Like I said, particularly of those endemic species for which there were either very few or no recordings for the longest time. So I forgot to share my audio. So I'll encourage you guys to check out Xenocanto or go to eBird and check out some of the reports there, and listen to the audio yourselves. But I'm hoping in the next few years, if that's all I have left in Saudi, that I can further add to my collection and maybe at least complete the set of the endemic birds of Saudi Arabia. The fourth reason I really love it is I've really been excited to share my love of Saudi birding with others, like your community. In fact, I've been writing for my website and sharing with a few other venues, and that's how I became acquainted with Patsy England. So I shared an article with Aramco expats, and Patsy read the article and reached out and asked if I would be willing to speak to your community today. And I've also been publishing some articles with Saudi Aramco's weekly publication, The Arabian Sun, in the hopes of spreading greater awareness of Saudi birds and efforts to protect them in the kingdom. And the last reason I really love Saudi birding is I love learning Arabic. So I've been able to feed another passion of mine, which is language learning and learning Arabic. And through my website, I've been trying to share a little of what I've learned with my readers. So in fact, I created 2 videos that are on YouTube, which introduce folks to some basics of Saudi Arabic, useful expressions that you can use when you're out birding, as well as some of the Arabic names of Saudi birds. So you can check these out at my website, or go to Saudi Birding on YouTube and take a look at the Learn Arabic with Saudi Birding. But that's been, Saudis, we started off in the UAE, and that's when I began learning Arabic, but really moving to Saudi has provided, a much greater opportunity to really use it out in the field and benefit from my interactions with, everyday Saudis, as well as other Arab-speaking expats in the country. So yeah, thanks for hanging in there with me. I hope the connection has been okay since the last we had an issue. But I'll end there. That's the end of my talk about birding in Saudi Arabia. A big thank you to everyone for attending, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, I'd be happy to answer whatever questions you may have, and so I don't know how you guys would like to do it. If invite folks to turn on their mics or simply type their questions in the chat, but I'll do my best to answer.
Yeah, we can go both ways at this point. People can certainly welcome to turn on their mics and ask questions. And I think we have a couple of questions in the chat already. One was, do you intend to contribute or write a field guide to birding in Saudi? And you kind of already have, but I guess in a more formal way.
Yeah, that's it's something I've tossed around. It would be a big project.
Yes, it's not for the faint of heart. That's true.
But yeah, I have been, especially I love working with a lot of these online tools, like some of the features that I showcased today. So the thought of creating something digital that's maybe a little more interactive, where folks can, for example, they can click on different species, read information about the species, right, including the Arabic as well. This is something I created just to kind of introduce folks to what a lot of these endemic birds look like, what they sound like, which I apologize, but you're not gonna be able to hear it since I didn't share the audio. Well, there's some video as well, some multimedia content to really get folks well exposed to these birds and to learn a bit more about them. So yeah, so inshallah, as they say, I'd like to create maybe a guide to birding Saudi Arabia, So really the best places to go, how to plan a trip, the best ways to find, individual species as well. So that's something I would like to work on, but it's the time though. We'll see.
Yeah, it's it's a heavy lift. So there's another question in here. What is the best season for birding in Saudi?
Yeah, that's a good question, because generally speaking, the winter is the best season just to visit Saudi. It's the then you're going to find really nice weather pretty much throughout the country. You could even, in the northwest of the country, if you wanted to see snow, there's some places where you can go kind of up into the mountains, higher elevation, and late winter, even find some snowfall. But for when you go to the southwest in the winter, though, a lot of the target birds for most birders become harder to find. Some of the Afrotropical species have left the country and are actually wintering in East Africa. So you'll miss out on those, and some of the endemic species become a little harder to find because they drop to lower elevations. So they're less concentrated in the highlands. So generally speaking, wintertime for most of Saudi Arabia. But if you're really intent on finding the endemic species, it's really the best time to come is the summer. So come in, July, August, even, a little bit into September, before some of the summer breeding birds have left. That's, you'll find great weather up there, and, an abundance of birds. But be warned though, anywhere else outside the highlands that you're going to be sweating your hind end off.
And another question here is, do you bird with a guide?
No, I've when I first got to Saudi Arabia, it was the birding community was very small and not nearly as sort of connected as the community that we had in the UAE. So I got used to just going out on my own, and researching, what little was out there to kind of find the best spots to go and what to look for, and then just using, the Arabic that I have to kind of negotiate situations out in the field, or oftentimes, like for example, there's a mountain about an hour to the northwest of the city where we're living that I love visiting. And every time I climb to the top of the mountain, it's a low mountain, but there's a bit of a plateau at the top that's really good for desert birds. But you'll find camel herders up there. Oftentimes, many of them are Somali. So these camel herders speak Arabic, but don't speak any English. And it's just nice to be able to greet them and sort of question them about the different wildlife in the area, and what birds they might be seeing. Get a little on the ground intel,
Right.
and that it would be much harder to come by, if I didn't have that Arabic to help me. So yeah, to be honest, I'm hoping this will change, but there, as far as I know, there are no Saudi bird guides at the moment.
Right.
There are plenty wonderful and super friendly Saudi bird photographers and birders who would be happy to show you around their stomping ground. But no dedicated guides at the moment.
Gotcha.
Or dedicated bird tours for that matter.
And so now we have a multi-part question, and I'm going to add a component to it, but says, so what birds do you see on an ordinary day in the city? And what is Saudi's general policy and practice on parks and wildlife? And is there a conservation or education program?
All right. Yeah, good question. So in my city, I live in Al-Hassa, which is in the east. It's a really old city. It's developed around the largest oasis in the region, and the largest sort of ongoing sort of date cultivation in the region. And let me, there's, okay. So on my website, I've got my hotspots, and here's my link here for, these are Al-Hasa hotspots. So not so much what I'm seeing in the city. In the city would be introduced birds like white-eared bulbul and common myna. These birds have been introduced to Arabia, and the myna, as you can imagine, is a bit of a pest. It's like the European starling in the U.S. The white-eared bulbul, though, is quite charming. There's a lot of them around. Other than that, we get laughing doves. Laughing doves are quite common. They're like our mourning doves. There's the Eurasian collared dove, which you guys have enough of here in Texas. Yeah, that's a world-dominating bird right there, along with house sparrows. We have lots of house sparrows.
Right.
Yeah, but just a little outside the city, we have a place called Al Asfar Lake. This is a man-made lake, so it's treated wastewater and sort of runoff from all the farms in the area. But it's quite large. There's extensive reed beds around the lake, and then some really nice sort of scrubby desert around it. So it's super attractive to water birds as well as migrants. So we get those swamp hens there, the mustache warblers, the bee eaters, as somebody mentioned earlier. This is the blue-cheeked bee eater, but we also get the European bee eater passing through. There's the owls are out there, the pharaoh eagle owls. You get some larger wildlife too out there, which is quite interesting. This past winter, I had my first golden jackal, which is probably maybe a little bit bigger than the coyote, but really, really striking animal with this kind of golden mane on the back. Squacko herons are quite common out at the lake. Sometimes you get some nice winter birds out there, like the short-eared owl. And then, of course, the Egyptian nightjars. These are quite common out there during the summer. So this is my favorite. But as far as parks go, there are a lot of these what they call national parks, but they're nothing like the national parks we have here in the U.S. They're more kind of pedestrian and usually a little run down and mostly just for picnicking. People go out and just sort of spend the day and picnic there. Much of it is artificial as well. So this particular national park, it's all man-made, sort of extensive plantings of non-native tree species. And it was created as sort of a sand buffer to prevent the desert from blowing into the adjacent village. But there's some really great birding there though as well. So you find the black scrub robins there, which are quite fun. This is the best place in the east to see them. We get some interesting rodents, desert rodents like fat sand rats and what's the other one? The jurd. We get the Arabian jurd. Here's the European beater, which is this is actually on passage and during migration. This is quite common, even over cities throughout Saudi Arabia. So all you have to do, you'll hear them passing overhead and just look up and you see these gems. They're really, really striking.
Wow, yeah, it's very beautiful. And so you indirectly addressed the follow-on question about invasives and what were the problem invasives that Saudi Arabia deals with.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. If I could, I just wanted to comment on the question about conservation.
Oh yeah, so, right.
This, preserves have existed for a while in Saudi Arabia, but enforcement of hunting regulations and protecting these preserves has been spotty in the past. So big preserves would generally be fenced off. People would not be allowed to enter as a means to sort of protect the wildlife inside, but with a lack of patrols, with a lack of enforcement, locals would tear holes in fences and go in and abuse the terrain, and hunt there without any consequence. But in recent years, though, they've really ratcheted up enforcement. and they've created a new preserve in the Northwest where they're looking to reintroduce Arabian leopard, with stricter enforcement and consequences for those who break the hunting laws in the country. Then I think the situation will change and improve, but it's to be seen. A lot of us are kind of waiting with bated breath to see if they're really going to stick to it, and we're going to see a complete sea change in terms of conservation in the country, particularly for the Asir magpie, because that this magpie is really wonderful, incredibly striking bird, but there's possibly less than 200. They estimate around 100 breeding pairs, so possibly around 200 individuals, a little more, left in the wild. So if they don't do something soon, there's a chance that they might lose this iconic species, which can only be found in Saudi Arabia.
Mm. Yeah. So is there is the conservation movement growing in Saudi Arabia, or is that still something to be seen? Is that what I gathered?
At the governmental level, at the organizational level, it's there, it exists, and right now among the public, there's greater awareness, and particularly with the increase in bird photographers, Saudi bird photographers, and Saudi birders. More and more of them are becoming active, not just on social media, but hosting in-person events to showcase their photography, or to hold workshops with others who are interested in the birds or interested in bird photography. And it's been really nice to see that happening. And I've tried to use my website as a way to sort of showcase these Saudis, and to kind of do my part to help raise awareness and maybe help them connect with an even broader audience. But obviously the most important audience are the Saudis themselves. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I think these guys are doing a fantastic job. Like this is Nader Fahid. He's a really great photographer from the Northwest. So you can go to my website, check out my interview with him, and see some more of his photography. There's also Dr. Duha Al-Hashimi. She's a female bird watcher and bird photographer from Jeddah. She's been quite active for a while and is one of the admins of a Facebook forum for people to share their bird photography from around the region. So another really great influence in the country at the moment. And Abdullah Suhaibani, he's a key figure in the conservation field in the country. So another really important figure. So I think we're witnessing a change right now, and I'm really hoping to see it increase, right? The awareness, the concern, and the actual efforts to protect these birds.
Right. Okay. Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating look at Saudi Arabia birds and the culture around them. And so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your vacation to share with us and bring this little piece of birding knowledge to our world. Something we will not encounter very often. So it's been definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. It was great to be with you. Sorry we had the issues earlier on, but I hope.
Yeah, well, you made a change somewhere, because the rest of the presentation came through just fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, unless anybody else has any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself and hop in. But I think we're ready to let you get on with your daily activities, and we can go and go about and get our supper or a glass of wine or whatever it is that we do at this time of night.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I need to make sure I get enough glasses of wine to last me another 18 months in Saudi.
yeah, that's got to be a bit of a challenge, right? Yeah, but thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate you spending your time with us. Truly a fascinating experience and great information.
Again, my pleasure, Brett.
Okay, you take
All
care.
right, have a great evening, everybody. Take care.
And safe travels on your 17-hour flight.
Oof.
Oof.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay.
Look forward to connecting with everybody again at some point.
Cheers.
All right, take care.
Good night, everybody.